Welcome to Escape Will Celebration number 6. Thank you for being here. We have a bunch of great contributors from the last anthology, and we cannot wait for you guys to hear them. So, on behalf of Jane, Mary, David, Thomas, and myself, we welcome you and let's get started. So, first we have Lisa V. Conway from New York City. Lisa is a lifelong New Yorker, writer, educator, mother of 3 children, novice gardener, and student of words and wishes and curious things in the world. She has recently been published by Newtown Literary and is the co-host of the Edgewater Reading Series in Staten Island, New York. Let's give it up for Lisa.
Thank you. And thank you so much for this. It's really like surreal and an honor. So thank you for being willing to listen to me. I didn't know I was going first, which is fine. I will start with the poem that's in the anthology, which is called Game Love. Oh, my dog is barking. Let's hope he doesn't do that again. Game Love. In college, my friends and I played this game. We'd ask a question like this. On a scale of Spice Girls you'd like to fuck, how much do you want bubble tea right now? And whoever had been asked had to answer. No explanations, no justifications permitted. He's still going. There he goes. In the case of the example above, you should know that even all... Oh. Dog. He wants to have like a conversation. I'm gonna get him. Sorry, that's just terrible. I'm gonna start over. Okay. In college, my friends and I played this game. We'd ask a question like this. On a scale of Spice Girls you'd like to fuck, how much do you want bubble tea right now? And whoever had been asked had to answer. No explanations, no justifications permitted. In the case of the example above, you should know that even Allspice and Old Spice warranted trips to the tea house. On a scale of in-season vegetables, it's winter, how much money is in your wallet? Rutabagas. On a scale of drinks served at a frat party, how much do you like my haircut? Antifreeze. How tired are you on a scale of brands of hair dye? Manic Panic. No, wait, Clairol. How hungry are you on a scale of types of birds? Tawny Crown Pygmy Tyrant. How much do you love me on a scale of houseplants? Sansevieria trifasciata. How much do you love me on a scale of New York City bridges? How much do you love me on a scale of deli meats? How much do you love me on a scale of places you've never been? Legumes, writing implements, types of mustard, abstract artists, types of salad dressing, types of love. Is there only one kind? The kind trapped in a snow globe? The kind spread on a sandwich? The kind taped to a box? Or the front door? Or to lips that shut? Okay. So, without the dog interruption, I hope that was okay and came through clear. We don't need tech issues when we have dog issues. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna read this because I haven't really played with this for too long, but my dog is kind of new and he's a puppy, and I lost my old dog last year, so I'm a little like obsessed with dogs in general. So this is called A Portrait of the Artist with Her Dog, inspired a little bit by James Joyce, but not really. Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, I jump onto a trampoline of bark dogs coming down the road. Their silken ears take flight, a resurrection of dog aromatic, corn chips and eye crud. Dozens of dachshunds are licking between my toes, gnawing underneath the nail beds, plugging their noses wherever my unsavoriness leads them. They love all the things we hate, musk and scalp and worse. Their tails orgasm wag in half moon dark, a whip protrusion into ovulation, menstruation, fornication, cancer, death. And I haven't showered in 5 days. No one can tell from 6 feet away. Dogs are proof that you don't have to be clean to be loved. That's why I share all my secrets with the bark dogs coming down the road. Okay. All right. I will read this one. Take it with you. It's like this, my grandma said. You can't take it with you. Though this proclamation came years after the collections, the thrill of flea market thrift shop wares, the strange, the rare and unusual, formerly in use, formerly important, years after the desire for curio, bric-a-brac, burnt coffee, and the shopping cart, a story behind each item, each objet d'art. How could we contain the lore inside that pink cut glass bowl, this translucent teacup made in occupied Japan, that figurine from West Germany before it was made whole again? Some things are valuable broken. Ask any Koros or Venus or the porcelain geisha on the dresser. I want to be made whole again. But I keep forgetting I'm already dead, or that I've never been dead and I'll live forever, or I was alive once before, long before any of this was made. Any pottery, poetic, painted, stroke black clay, or I want to be alive again. I never asked to be a star or leaf or earth. Make me whole. I don't need to beat, alive or dead. Make me whole. And my belly, like those craggy stones, will thunder sub terra, ex terra. I'll be the universe entire, molecules all over. I'll be 8 billion parts living in your pancreas, and you can have everything, dead or alive, but you can't take it with you. Okay. Should I keep going? We'll stop. Sorry, I'm a terrible timekeeper. Talk to me.
Keep going.
Okay. All right.
A couple more minutes.
Okay. All right. This one, okay. This one's called 1:33 a.m., an origin story. I grew. The body could not contain itself. Dog. Sorry, I'm gonna get the dog. Here's the dog. Here's the dog in question. Okay. And this poem is not about the dog, it's about my daughter. 1:33 a.m., an origin story. I grew. The body could not contain itself. The remedy nearly, I snarled, I moaned, I bellowed, I hummed. My torchlight hair, my torchlit toes. I lowed, I bowed, genuflections, prayers, Saint Anne, Saint Monica. What were not a spine there? Surely my head. I bled, I whimpered, I shook. On my haunches, I pulled, my broken bones, these matchsticks. I squeezed, turned blue, then purple. The gush of dulcet streams, a straw, a waterway. I fled. I wept. I gave up before the open door. It was a star I swallowed then. My eyes fell out or swelled shut. I busted up the shop, a stalwart son, Saint Margaret, Saint Rita, unstoppable. Had you ever seen a woman before? I had not. The body could not contain itself. Split off amoeba style, spirals of rapture. The moon was my moon, mine alone, not alone. Saint Opportuna, Saint Anne, girl, flesh of my flesh. Oh, the strength I give to you, unstoppable. I struck, it struck me. What else? What else could the body do? Okay. All right, so, I mean, I have like a couple more. I don't have to read them all. What do we think? Oh, thank you.
One more.
Okay, one more. So this is really short, and it's I'm not even sure what it is. It's really short, so I'm gonna do this one, and then we'll say no more, and I can be the listener, and that's a fun thing. Okay, this is called Oh My My. She is standing at the kitchen sink, onions, palm olive, white noise faucet, water so hot, but hands never scalded, and the steam rises up, not sure, might be the cigarette, not sure, and the dog's linoleum nails. I knocked the metal dish with my toe, then she was mad. I'm trying to make dinner, she says, mad about dinner or dogs or he didn't come home, he didn't come home. She keeps saying, oh my, like Tom Petty, but not Tom Petty because nothing comes after. Just, oh my, and the cigarette and the dog, oh my, oh. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being okay with the distraction.
Let's give it up for Lisa. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
You and your co-reader. We enjoyed both of you. Thank you so much. Your poems are awesome, very visceral. I really enjoyed it, especially the last one. So we appreciate it. I am sorry, I kind of got the list of the order mixed up a little bit, so we're gonna get right back on track. Excuse me. So now we have Peggy Robles-Alvarado from New York City. Peggy is a tenured educator with degrees in elementary, bilingual education, and an MFA in performance studies. She is a Brio Award winner, a Canto Mundo and Desert Nights Fellow, and an International Latino Book Award winner. She authored the collections Conversations with My Skin and Homage to the Warrior Women, and edited the Abuela Stories project and Mujeres, the Magic, the Movement, and the Muse. In addition, Peggy has featured on HBO Habla Women and at Lincoln Center Out of Doors, the Black Spirit Solstice Summit, and the Badass Women Festival. Yes, so let's give it up for Peggy.
Yay! Thank you for having me. Thank you, Great Weather for Media, and all of my fellow readers. Great Weather for Media has been so important to my just career as a writer. So I appreciate this platform. And I am praying to the tech gods that nothing happens. It may not be a dog, Lisa, but it will be, you know, it might be something else. So we're gonna hang in there for the next 8 minutes. And then I can do the same and enjoy our time together, witnessing everyone else. So the first piece is from the anthology, The Escape Wheel. What they mean by papers. Papeles, not the Daily News or El Diario La Prensa, or the kind my mother read to me on Sunday mornings. Her voice raspy, a throat full of pelitos de mango, making sure to read each article twice so that maybe I wouldn't reject Spanish as fiercely as she had rejected English. Our tongues disloyal to new soil, patriots only to the papers and sounds we were familiar with. The paper that could feed us. Money and prayers written on them tucked under the mattress, because who trusted banks anyway? Papeles, not the kind Tia Hueltina used to roll her tobacco with. The smell of her neatly constructed cigars conjuring Taino spirits she exhaled out of the fire escape window as she tried to memorize the national anthem, studying for her citizenship exam in a language that didn't sound as soothing as the rain hitting her zinc rooftop back in Santiago. The smoke twirling around vowels and consonants, her mouth struggling to articulate the heaviness of a language too comfortable with conquest. Wasn't it enough that her grandmother's tongue was believed extinct, and there were only 2 ways of saying I love you in Spanish? Papeles, the kind that convinced 4 of my aunts to marry older naturalized men in exchange for an acre of my grandfather's land in El Campo. The barter of 1 fertile, untouched land for another, promised to be paved in gold. The payment, their bodies, all their milk and honey, all their amber and caña dulce, sacrificed to the lust of viejo verdes, old bastards who soured early on too much tabaco y ron and wanted to plant their moldy seeds in supple girls who had never seen snow. How important was consent when there were so many mouths to feed? Papeles, the kind my uncle Rito forged, placed his dead brother's name on every dotted line, learned to curl the R's in his name as if writing sacred geometry. Always the ghost perched on his back, the weight hunching his shoulders, hardening his eyes, his real name, Julio, reduced to an unfamiliar nickname he only responded to on Saturdays during domino games and shots of Mama Juana with other men, whose wives were still stretched across the ocean awaiting a visa. The illusion of living his best life, written in a few letters he sent back home with $75 to help feed his 2 kids. Even if he had to share a room with 4 other men, he was still the only one in his family to own more than 1 pair of shoes. This next piece is my attempt at a pantoum. Pantoum for the GYN that asks if I really want more children. She insists 3 kids are more than enough. Puerto Rican tias are missing wombs. Tells me I'm still young, more than just a mom. Calls it a quick, simple operación. Matias dug graves for their missing wombs. White coats whittled atabe from their core. Gave la operación without consent. Severed roots and limbs carved their initials. This doctor wants to slash and burn my core. Thinks me savage, an invasive species. Assures me she won't carve her initials. These operations are routine for her. Boricuas are not an invasive species. Madre is thicket, lush, more than just a mom. Bloodletting brown bodies is routine for her. She insists 3 kids are more than enough. Moving along. All these pieces are relatively new from a new manuscript that I'm working on, so bear with the crazy. This next piece is called Stunting, and I just performed it for the Poetry Center in Arizona, and I'm really excited it's going to be part of their archive. Stunting. I like the blue-nosed pit bull best. How she flexes muscle and jawline when talking and walking down Broadway like a bad bitch. Flaunting a hulking chest, broad-faced and sleek, embracing the killer myths neighborhood viejitas tell as they cross the street to avoid her, knowing a pink leash is just an accessory to her swagger. If taunted by the tigres on the corner, boys playing at manhood, smelling of Newports and Colt 45, she will clap back with 300 pounds of pressure, vibrating across 42 teeth poised for the what's good, or the you good, or the we good. Somewhere inside the most tender spaces in my mouth lives a bite of a tongue still smelling of wolf. Grip tightening, head shaking, unsure of whose blood be on the sidewalk, ready to stunt on stories whispered about her, knowing she was bred to win. That's my dog poem. It goes with Lisa. It's Lisa. We got this dog thing going on. We got it. And I'm very conscious of time because I know everyone wants to share. So this is perfect timing. I got 2 minutes left, and then I'm going to finish off with this last piece. It is after Ada Limon. And it's all the things that I've heard when I'm asked to perform, when asked to perform for Hispanic Heritage Month. When you come, be sure to trill the R's in your last name. Use words like café con leche, caramelo, trigueño, but not negro. Please don't make us say Latinx. Tell us about being a teen mom. Tell us about your drug dealing cousins. Don't tell us about don't tell us about being the first to go to college. Don't mention you worked 3 jobs. Don't mention you had your own apartment at 17. Tell us funny stories about owning plastic-covered sofas. Tell us about WIC checks and EBT cards. Can you wear a native costume? Can you dress in the colors of your flag? Can you code switch for authenticity? Can you have us all say, "Wepa"? Can you be spicy but not too hot? Do you have any stories about making sancocho on a budget? Tell us about the first time your cousin saw snow. Don't tell us your father was a US citizen. Don't tell us how he retired with 2 full pensions. Tell us how he pulled himself up by the bootstraps. Tell us how he was running numbers when he met your mom. Don't tell us how your mother refused to be on public assistance. Don't tell us how she almost miscarried after pressing the foot pedal of a sewing machine for too many hours without a lunch break. Tell us about your mom learning English in a church basement. Tell us how you learned to speak American in an English-only class. Can you have us all say curse words that make us laugh? Can you speak loud enough to engage the audience, but not too loud to sound threatening? Can you smile for the funders? Can you wave at the department chair? Can you hold that grin for the photo? Can you just smile? Can you smile? Can you perk that lip and cover those teeth? So if anyone asks, we can say, look, she liked it. Thank you very much, Great Weather for Media, and everyone present and all my fellow readers. Yay, techie gods, you came in.
Yes, thank you, Peggy. That was wonderful. You are a great reader. I wish this was longer. I would just love to just keep hearing you read. It was awesome. I love that. Be spicy, but not too hot. Yes. Okay, well, so now we're going to move along to Rosie Garland. She is coming to us all the way from Manchester, United Kingdom. So yes. All right, so Rosie writes novels, short fiction, poetry, and sings with the post-punk band, the March Violets. With a passion for language nurtured by public libraries, her work has appeared in Under the Radar, Butcher's Dog, The North, Spelk, Rialto, Dyslexia, and elsewhere. Her debut novel, The Palace of Curiosities, was nominated for both the Desmond Elliott and the Polari First Book Prize, and her latest novel, The Night Brother, is described by the Times of London as a delight, playful and exuberant, with shades of Angela Carter. What Girls Do in the Dark, I love these titles, her new poetry collection is forthcoming from Nine Arches Press. In 2019, Val McDermott named Rosie as one of the top 10 most compelling LGBTQ writers in the UK today. Rosie Garland.
Thank you, Lyndsey, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. And wow, what absolutely fantastic. I'm just so honored to be here. And one of the gifts and delights of Zoom is that I'm able to transport magically from Manchester in England to my beloved city of New York City. So it's great to be there. And I'm going to start with my first piece, which is from the wonderful Escape Wheel collection. And it's called Exit Ophelia. And when I was a kid, I saw this painting of Ophelia who tragically drowned herself because of love gone wrong. And I just wanted to tip that on its head, basically. And it's as if by magic that this poem resonates with Alex Vigue's beautiful piece, Some Painting You Once Saw and Loved, and Alex is coming up next. Who would have thought you guys knew what order to put people in? Anyhow, Exit Ophelia. High above the seabed, a tightrope girl is dancing. Dusted with first love, she glitters, spilling constellations. Her legs melt the water into ribbons. She is made of moons, breasts, belly, buttocks, backbone. Pillowed on night fish and ringed with brittle galaxies, she listens to the circle dance of plankton, the growth of coral, the foghorn hum of humpbacks, the buzz of meteors that trickle down the sky. She's drifted a long way from shore. She licks stars from her skin, tastes their crackle on her tongue, pounds her heels, kicks off the lace line of the tide, heads away from home fires that string the horizon, faint as a flung bouquet. We cry warnings, how she's swimming in the wrong direction, out of her depth. She can hear us, but strikes out for the horizon, elbows sharp as fins. So, yay, Ophelia gets away. So I'm going to read 3 more pieces today, depending on where in the world you are. And they're going to focus on hope. People sometimes quite often ask me, why do you write poetry? And I write it to get through. And so I'm going to start with rejection. I'm sure that none of the other writers here have ever had a rejection. I'm sure I'm the only one of you guys. Yeah, so I do quite a lot of tipping things on their head. So here is my letter of rejection from a black hole. We're touched by your desire to join our great work of dismembering the fabric of time and matter. We can't blame you for wanting to hide in nothing, and note the ways you've snapped off pieces of yourself to prove you're serious. However, we wonder if you've misunderstood our purpose, the difference between obliteration of the cosmos and the spirit. You've been smothering your radiance for so long. It's become a system of belief that you're cored with lead, incapable of anything but borrowed light, or in a destructive twist of logic that impressed the selection panel, brilliance is only permitted to serve others' needs. You have the right to glow. It's not your duty to light up anyone else's day. We urge you to reconsider, wish you well, and suggest steering clear of holes. Thank you. So there's a letter of rejection from a black hole. And yes, since I was very kindly invited to read at this wonderful celebration of Escape Wheel, my collection, What Girls Do in the Dark, I know, isn't it a great title? Has actually now been published by 9 Arches Press and apparently is available worldwide. Who would have thought that? And yeah, it is a good title. My editor thought of it. It's the title of one of the poems, but sometimes a writer can't see what's really obvious, and that's a useful lesson to learn. Anyway, back to the hope. This next piece is called Bede Writes a History of the English People. I'm a big history fan. And this character Bede was somebody who lived 1,500 years ago. What could possibly have changed other than the fact that Bede wrote with a feather that had been sharpened to a point? Ask why I carve feathers to the sharp of knives when men are too busy to read. I should be bricking windows to arrow slots, should be bending you to longbows. The year roars with blood, the murder of faith and enemies, close, closer. Kings hammer mistrust into swords, and the world deafens with terror of one's neighbour. I turn to words. Their little lamps will outlive my flicker, that of lords and of this current fear. I grind gall, vinegar, hone my quill, feed the dark age with light. So times are hard now, times were hard 1,500 years ago, and I turn to words. And Also, there's a dog vibe going on tonight, isn't there? And I am going to join the dog party. I too have a poem about a dog, and I was planning on reading this. So again, that's called Spooky. And yeah, and this, as you've probably noticed, I've got quite a star theme going on. I'm one of the many themes of what girls do in the dark is up there in the stars, outer universe and inner universe. And so this poem is about comets. I'm interested in comets, and it's the biography of a comet in the body of a dog. All flap and gallop off the leash, it careers in a wild orbit around the solar system. The sweep of its tail makes 9 pins of doubt. It digs holes through the wounded parts of joy to the other side of despair. Every time I toss hope away, it brings it back, drops it at my feet, tongue drooling a glittering rope. On cinder nights when breath knocks hollow breath, it soars, heart on fire, chasing squirrel stars it can never catch. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been really great to be here today. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Oh my God, Rosie. I need that book. We all need that book. It was amazing. I think one of my favorite lines, and there were just so many, "You have the right to glow." That was beautiful, just awesome. So we're going to move to Alex Vigue from Vancouver, Washington. Alex is a queer writer from Vancouver, Washington. He holds a bachelor's degree in creative writing from Western Washington University and has been recently published in Peach Mag, Chronotope, and Homology Lit. His debut chapbook, The Myth of Man, was published by Floating Bridge Press. Alex is co-host of Literary Merit, a queer podcast about celebrating guilty pleasures in the media.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And thank you for the opportunity to read. And I'm just so happy, specifically for this first poem, the poem in the anthology. I was really trying to get this published for a while. It's sort of, I don't know, it was a mission statement of mine for a while. So I'm just so glad to see it on a page. This is some painting you once saw and loved because you didn't know any others. Who gave you language? Who taught you to hold your knees under your body and crawl? Who taught you about long hair? Who cut your hair? Who called you a boy? Who called boy? Who told you that pink was worse than icky? What is worse than icky? Who forbade florals? Who crushed them up into a yellow pustule pollen mound? Who taught you about dandelions and wishes? Who outlawed wishes? Who convinced you to be afraid of bows and earrings and nail polish? Who did you beg for a pair of teal jelly sandals? Who caved? Do you even remember if they caved? Do you remember having your own pair, or did you steal steps in your sister's? Did anyone warn you that it would feel like cuts being taken out of yourself, bits shaved off and squared? Who can you tell all of this to? Can you even admit to it in the oxbow of adulthood? How much blood will build up before it has a chance to metabolize as milk production in the body? Suppression of the body, binding of the body, tucking of the body, bags packed under your eyes to run away from home as soon as you're outed, as soon as they know, as soon as it hurts so much that you feel like the only thing that can stop this hole from turning you inside out is to find the darkest place in town, stare up at the Milky Way and be soaked up like oil in a paintbrush, and disappear into some painting you once saw and loved because you didn't know any others. And now you're a sloppy painter. And now you're crumpled and leaking out the identity you fought to discover. And now you're in pain. And now you're in pain. So that one's a bit of a bummer sometimes. I really like it, but it doesn't end on a happy note. And some of these won't either. So I've been working on some poems dealing with moments in queer history that are often never spoken about, or, before research had never heard about. So this one is titled The Boys of Boise, 1955. It's the sound of wind kissing juniper trees in the park. It's a lighthouse cop hunting to catch carnality and bind it in metal. I am conceived in these circumstances, a fledgling dribble or spit pine seed, earth drinker, semen missed by a stranger to be consumed by the shared roots and mycelium of drag Mother Nature. Pheromones of fear cruising in Idaho, gnawing at branches, gnawing at the rule of an unjust law. The men have swallowed their own arms, and I am born of this filleting, a child of infamous crimes against nature. 6 years probation, 10 years in prison, 5 years in prison, 7 years in prison, loses appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court. 5 years in prison, 15 years in prison, 5 years in prison, loses appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court. I have another one here, another moment in history. This is from 1970, just a year after Stonewall. This is Snake Pit Police Raid 1970. Diego Vanales jumped from the second floor of the Charles Street police station, lips of the night evaporating off him in silk swaths. Terror of being deported, the crime of being out. Diego Vanales jumped and landed on wrought iron, a fairy's one weakness, impaled and cut down. Diego Vanales jumped and survived. Saint Sebastian of the Snake Pit, torn wings lifted the movement. They chanted, "Any way you look at it, that boy was pushed. We are all being pushed." Diego Vanales jumped and was deported once he recovered. Oh, fondly foolish boy, seeking in vain to clasp a fleeting image. And then I have one more here. This is from a collection I'm working on. I had an uncle who died before I was born. He died in a very strange accident while swimming. So I had to do research to figure out all the details of that. And in my research, I've discovered so many pieces of art and poetry that all have to deal with swimming and leisure in a pool of water. And so this came about while I was reading Walt Whitman, and it begins with an epigraph from Song of Myself. So this is Aria for the Bathers. It is for my mouth forever. I am in love with it. I will go to the bank by the wood and become undisguised and naked. Song of Myself, Walt Whitman. A sip to summer numb, a gulp to swallow a great smiling heartache. Let me drink to my grand ignorance. Let me cheers to shadow shame behind my teeth. Boys, I am so cheery and alone amongst you. Your faces are phantoms along the banks of bouncing thighs. This is the last you shall hear of me. How dare I annoy you with my true fuckery any longer? This song of myself shall wane. I will hear from you boys now. Shout your pleasures and shiny brass vials into the creek. Let me imagine myself in your bare feet and hear them clap against these honeycomb stones. Part of me will live forever in your loins as a sniff of joy and the bounty of a good time. I doubt you will remember me, but I love each of you for your generous send-off. I shall think of you fondly in your various states. Each anxious undressing of man is proof of our unlimited kinship and the echoes of libation. Don't mourn. Don't shy away from the dark jewel of our shared gyre. Swim with me, brothers. Swim, and we will forge a new existence together. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Alex. That was wonderful. Just, oh my goodness, just so much feeling and depth. And I loved how you laced history through it all. It was amazing. Thank you for your work and thank you for reading. So now we have Gina Williams. She is from Lake Oswego, Oregon. And Gina is a journalist, photographer, former firefighter, and gardener. A Pacific Northwest native, she can often be found rambling in the Oregon outback, volunteering at the community garden, or on assignment in a far-flung location. She is a founder of Clean Air Poetry Northwest, a nonprofit organization supporting literary arts and environmental activism. Her writing and visual art have been featured in River Teeth, Carve, Feud, Palooka, Boiler Journal, the Whitby Art Gallery, and Black Box Gallery, among others. Her full-length poetry collection, An Unwavering Horizon, was published in 2020 by Finishing Line Press. Here's Gina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. This is wonderful. And I'm right across the river from Alex, so hi, Alex. I'm going to start with the poem from the anthology, and it's a graphic poem, so it's kind of hard to see, but it's called Fences, and it's based on the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. I often turn to history as well. Fences. Fences protect you from our dangerous dreams, toxic hopes, thirst for independence. Razor wire divides the indivisible, one nation, invisible, disappeared by whirlwinds of toxic dust. And we're still talking about fences, unfortunately. Let's see, I think I'm going to go next to, this was published by Step Away Press, and it was part of, I haven't had much luck writing COVID poetry, but they had a call out, and I started looking at webcams around the world out of missing travel. So this one's called Flannel Flaneur, Shop Street via webcam. Anxiety grips the stilled hearts of the sickened world's great cities as loneliness seeps into my quarantine. I just want to see anything, anything at all. I cannot bear an empty Times Square, shuttered Paris, paralyzed Rome. So I settle on Galway. Shop Street is as sad as the others, but at least a breeze is blowing colorful flags above the lane. Cold spring sun stretches across bricks. Wrapped in flannel, I sip on bitter tea and watch a trickle of humanity walk around and away from one another, or in pairs, stagger careful distance, suspicious. I put on a sorrowful soundtrack, cannot stop watching. A boy on a red bicycle weaves with abandon around a dangerous gaggle of girls who cannot smell pox in the air. A man in a black cap walks backwards, as if he can unwind time. Oliver Wendell Holmes comes to mind. I claim the Christian pagan's line, humani nihil. Even so, and is not human life divine? I watched the man go in reverse, on and on, across my screen, into shadows, disappear. And let's see, I'm going to read the first poem in my collection that came out this year. It's called Burial at Sea. It's my Pacific Northwest contribution. Burial at sea. A moody trout is a dead trout, my grandfather said, his lower lip stuffed with a wad of wintergreen chew. Mist flowed across the water as he pulled the oars gently. I watched every move, took in every word from my seat atop the orange boat cushion, feet small and squirming in gum boots, chosen from a jumble in Grandpa's shed. Years later, I recalled those sepia days, all golden alder leaf, spin, and real Fisher philosopher, cold blue sky, knit cap hug, and hot sweet thermos tea, with a bittersweet backdrop of boxed cello suites, so achingly perfect, floating them along. Thing is, a sullen fish just don't last long, he'd announce, then spit tar like a perturbed grasshopper over the bow. Good for us. Winter seeped in slowly, water beans languishing in the bracken water of lily pads. Too depressed not to bite, too anemic to fight. Now I knew it wasn't the fish's fault. In faded flannel, bloated from the bottle, my mother forgot my name. My father, alone and far away, too slow to run, lost to a sniper's bullet. Winter does these things to fish and men. A moody trout is a dead trout, is a lost soul, is a wandering fool, is a sinking boat. Grandpa taught me to bait the hook, set the rod, dip the net, break the neck, slit the belly, peel the guts, turn the boat toward the cove and wait. Wait in the shadows. Wait it out. Thank you. And we're all waiting right now, I think. This was published by the Inflectionist Review here in Portland, and as part of a larger project I'm working on, looking at history. And actually, it's not as evident in this poem, but looking at numbers and what numbers say about our society. Years, miles of pipeline, miles of railroad track, detainee numbers, immigration numbers, things like that. So this is one in that group, and it's called Dear Captor. Dear Captor, and I'll read the epigraph, I'm sorry. In 1521, Spanish explorer Francisco Cordillo and slaver Pedro de Quexos captured an indigenous Catawban man they baptized as Francisco de Chicora, along with 70 others, from near the mouth of the PD River in what is now South Carolina. Chicora learned Spanish and was taken to Spain, where he gave a fantastical account of his homeland to chronicler Peter Martyr. In 1526, he was brought back to North America with 600 colonists. Immediately upon arriving, he escaped and returned to his people. Dear Captor, explosions rock a cloudless sky as blue as these strange invaders' eyes, stinking, hairy men who create thunderstorms with sticks. Lightning splits the sea as they raid our village. My mother's cries pain the trees. Sons, nephews slaughtered before their very eyes. Their still bleeding flesh tossed to the Spaniards' dogs. The lucky netted, chained, branded, baptized, pinned like botanist butterflies in the molding holds of foreign ships. Anchors pulled, my homeland of pearls and misty cypress swamps melts against the horizon. A ribbon of gold floating beneath the full moon. I pray to the bird spirits, call to the souls of murdered brothers, guide me home. Captors, why do you teach me your language of greed? Because now I understand the nature of your religion, the meaning of my baptismal name, Francisco, free, free man, freedom. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gina. Dear captor, freedom. Love it. Thank you so much. That was so descriptive. I love the imagery in your poems, and it's just a wonderful blend of nature and history. So thank you. Okay, now we have Stephanie Roberts from Canada. Stephanie is a Quebec-based poet born in Central America and raised in Brooklyn. She was awarded first prize in the 64 Best Poets of 2018 by Black Mountain Press. Her work is forthcoming in poetry, Shenandoah, and the Breakbeat Poets, Volume 4, Latinx, Haymarket Books 2020. Her full-length poetry collection, Rushes from the River Disappointment, McGill Queen's University Press,
Lyndsey, can you hear me?
was a finalist for the Wilder Poetry Book Poetry Prize. Stephanie Roberts, welcome.
Thank you. How is our sound going?
You sound good, Stephanie.
Okay, fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Wow, that's glad I got.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
It's just a delay, Stephanie.
Okay.
I'll take care. I'm going to message her now.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you to Great Weather for Media for publishing my work and for hosting this event. It's a great pleasure to be joining my fellow contributors tonight. The poet Steve Scafidi often begins his readings with sharing the work of another poet. And this is how I'm beginning this reading, with a poem from Finish the Sentence, the debut collection of Ottawa, Ontario-based emerging Black lawyer and poet, the wonderful Leslie Roach, who is joining us tonight. Thank you for attending, Leslie. This poem is called Billionaire Mentality. This 21st century has brought more fear. You'd think we would have figured it out by now. You'd think that enlightenment would have caught up, that people would have gotten over this shit. Instead, it's gotten worse. They knew something that we didn't, that the dregs of society are still rampant. They are at large among us. You don't know. You don't know if your neighbor plans to eat you. You don't know. And that's where they stand among us. They are people eaters, the people haters. They're at the table. Why are we even debating this? That is what's scary about this, that people don't see. It's sad. I don't even know how we continue, but we do. We try. We get on with it. We take the bull by the horns and dance with the devil. We have to. They left us no choice. Unless we rally, there's nothing we can do. And they are experts at dividing and conquering. These next poems are from an unpublished manuscript. Black Conversation. From the noose of the poem, the dead woman points off page. Follow her finger to the blue eyes of the poet, who caps and uncaps a black fountain pen. He looks at her finger, wipes his eyes, scrolls down. Not I, he is sympathetic. Although the purple tongue tied shut in its duchess has a lot it could say, it wouldn't be saying anything that hasn't been said before. Her arm maintains indication. The poet unscrews his pen, marks the sky, azure, the river, tempestuous, the bystanders, the good old days, the rape, the neck, the feet going nowhere, the bystanders, the show not tell. Plus ça change. Turn of the century postcard, the body camera, the hoodie, the bystanders, the wife beside you, the stanza, the assonance, the brain's patterned dashboard, the bystanders. The line breaks. His Mont Blanc outlines her obsidian necklace in mangled African-American vernacular English. He screws his pen back together. The pushcart is coming. Thank you. This next poem is called Lady Fine is for Sugar, and it was first published in the Breakbeat Poets Latinx. Lady Fine is for Sugar. My grandmother believed in it. Delicate laugh, perfectly pressed blouse, not shirt, and proper grammar, billowing it out. You are well, not fine. Fine is for sugar. Shorthand, typing, secretarial position, with some florid-faced boss drew success. My mother stormed like rain. Teen pregnancy, loud laugh, bellicose, swore freely in front of her children. I am the sky that could fall either way. Lady passé and enduring mythology. I feel some sort of way over Cardi B, precisely because she levitated up a stripper pole like a fucking phoenix against the stench of respectability politics, like a motherfucking phoenix through the ceiling, burning on the hydrogen of unwavering respect, bricks of dollar signs gain. Plush in the same country where Abuela believed you had to play the lady game. Star-spangled fantasy. My mother knew the danger, the voice that can't be heard, the suspect testimony of that pressed blouse. Flesh tone foundation obscures blacks and blues, white Peter Pan collar, crossed ankles, the I'm well, thank you. The rest. We don't yet know what we will be made of. I think I am approaching sea star or octopus, marine mercurial, beaked. You are canine loyal, panting after the thrown bone. We don't have many certainties, but this I do know, this I've already seen, you, open to me, like a thick hardcover falls a great height, pages rippling, gabble desperate for understanding, yet incomprehensible. I catch you wind, feathering the sides of passing motorcyclists, wearing spring chambray and denim. You're in front, thinking your luck is the red light ahead. A kind of ache eases off the cracked tooth removed, titanium screw then crown. I am behind you, arms around your belly, living tenere. I, a bit tired, a bit worked over by your bundle of hope thrown in my lap. Your relief from long you held precious wonder wrapped in the poisons of the past. This poem is from the opening poem from my recent collection, Rushes from the River Disappointment, Miguel Queens University Press. People believing badly. Those of us who've seen miracles know how to ask. If you've asked, do you love me? I almost certainly don't love you. And if in a foolish bout of poor judgment I've asked likewise, then, like death and taxes, by now you've retired with fire to your silent battle station. Be that as it is. We agree without asking to say nothing about all this strident, confused unbelief, keeping our conversation to the weather and that guy who can swallow a Rubik's Cube through a mustard-colored disaster of teeth, solving the puzzle of it via revolting convolutions in gut before regurgitation. I bet that guy believes in I love you. I bet that guy asks for anything he wants. And I saved the best for last, my poem from the Escape Wheel anthology, How Fast a Hummingbird's Wing. I fish the morning salute above trim of boxers, holding you, cock and moment, rigid with grace. One's mind scratches for solution, an armpit of paradox to bright mystery of how any living thing beats 50 times per second, how the heart collapses against a vow that can't contain it, how hard soft can be. In cyclone snapshot occurrence, you hold without holding, you let go without letting go. I rush to pin our happiest together to the top of the timeline of my surrender. Butterfly, boutonniere, tail. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was amazing. Sorry for the technical glitch there. If you don't mind, I actually want to read Stephanie's bio again, since it was kind of went out on me. So Stephanie is a Quebec-based poet born in Central America and raised in Brooklyn. She was awarded first prize in the 64 Best Poets of 2018 by Black Mountain Press. Her work is forthcoming in Poetry, Shenandoah, and the Breakbeat Poets, Volume 4, Latinx. This is from Haymarket Books 2020. Her full-length poetry collection, Rushes from the River Disappointment, which is from McGill Queen University Press 2020, was a finalist for the Wilder Poetry Book Prize. So thank you again, Stephanie. We really loved it. Thank you for sharing your work. Okay.
Lyndsey, you're still a bit frozen. Lyndsey, can you hear me?
Okay, so now we have Rich Ferguson from Los Angeles, California. Rich has shared
I'm sorry for the technical.
stage with Patty Smith, Wanda Coleman, Moby, and other esteemed poets and musicians. He is a feature. Oh,
All right. Yeah, so Lyndsey, just give us a second. We're gonna put.
Is this better? You hear me now? Yeah, a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, it's all
Can you
messed
hear
up.
me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, try logging in from your phone, like you said. Sorry, everyone. So maybe log out and then log into your phone. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We have 2 more readers left. And let's hear it for Lyndsey, who's doing an amazing job today. She's going to log right back. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like our poetry. I think that's what the problem is. It's just too much. So. All right, letting Lyndsey in.
Is that better?
You're amazing, Lyndsey. Yes.
Oh, oh my goodness. It's nothing but the devil. Thank you guys. I appreciate your patience. So we are at Rich Ferguson. Thank you for your patience, Rich. He's from Los Angeles, and I'm just going to read you his bio. Rich has shared the stage with Patti Smith, Wanda Coleman, Moby, and other esteemed poets and musicians. He is a featured performer in the film What About Me, featuring Michael Stipe, Michael Franti, Katie Lang, and others. His poetry collection, Eighth and Agony, is out on Punk Hostage Press, and his debut novel, New Jersey Me, has been released by Rare Bird Books. Everything is Radiant Between the Hates. His latest poetry collection was published in September 2020 by Moontide Press. Welcome, Rich Ferguson.
Thank you so much. Actually, everything is everything is Radiant Between the Hates is actually going to be released this month. Yeah. At some point, I told my publisher I didn't want the book released in 2020. It was just a doomed and failed year. So I said, let's wait for the new year. So it's actually coming out right now. And some of the pieces I'll do from this will be from that. But the first piece I'm going to do is from the amazing Escape Wheel. And thanks to all the amazing great weather folks, Jane Thomas, David Lawton, George Wallace. George, it's great to see you. Peter, as always, great to see you. And thanks to all the poets today. And in my next life, Peggy, I want to have teeth as amazing as yours. All right, here we go. So go the quiet passings of many unhistorical moments. Picasso often made love in a papier-mâché house with a violin-tongued mistress whose passionate moans were a wildfire. In that room of her own, Virginia Woolf engaged in pillow fights with the silence and non-linear makeout sessions with the moon. During his second term as president, Lincoln built a tiny log cabin in his mind. In it lived his mother, who died when he was 9. Even after Lincoln's death, his mother lived on in that cabin, sewing, singing along with sparrows, playing lullabies for Lincoln's ghost on her steel drum teeth. Single, maligned, female. Misaligned, misappropriated, torch-bearing woman seeks a loving relationship with a free-minded country, including all its tired, poor, and huddled masses. Must be benevolent, enlightened, and able to relocate to the New York City area. Willing to overlook baldness, impotency, and certain STDs so long as you're not an oppressive, egomaniacal, seditious, and sociopathic tyrant and are into plus-size, copper-skinned women. Open to ethnic origin, religion, and sexual orientation so long as you've had no shady entanglements with the Kremlin. Turned on by truth dealers and justice seekers. Prefer false teeth over false democracy. Doxers, Twitter bots, Proud Boys, internet trolls need not apply. When called in for questioning, when asked about the scars around your lips, tell them you were speaking peace in a shattered glass world. When asked about employment, say you are a wound collector on the broken frontier. As for where you reside, tell them your heart is equidistant from joy and suffering, the now and never, the sweet flower and the Hiroshima cloud regarding why you say the things you say. Tell them the full moon is in your mouth. When asked about the ghosts behind your eyes, say you occasionally spend too much time thinking about who you are to become rather than whom you are supposed to be. As for why some leave the world too soon, tell them Death's reflexes are sometimes quicker than prayer. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Pulse of heartbeat, pulse of Cyndi Lauper song beat, pulse of lights, pulse of lights. Pulse of bodies dancing, pulse of joy and freedom, pulse of heartbeat, pulse of song beat. Pulse of clock striking 2 a.m., pulse of gunfire, pulse of gunfire. Pulse of brains wondering if that sound is part of the song. Pulse of gunfire, pulse of gunfire. Pulse of voices yelling, crying, screaming, pulse of bodies rushing for safety, pulse of bathroom and exit door swinging open and closed, pulse of gunfire echoing through screams. Pulse of fingers frantically tapping out final text, pulse of sirens, pulse of sirens. Pulse of bullets searing flesh, shattering bones, pulse of bloodshed, pulse of bloodshed. Pulse of bodies breathing final breaths, pulse of bodies feeling final pulse of songs, pulse of final breaths and heartbeat songs mixed with blood and pulse of sirens. Pulse of the internet blowing up with another mass shooting, pulse of networks blowing up with another mass shooting, pulse of newscasters speaking the names of the injured and dead, pulse of politicians speaking the names of the injured and dead, pulse of shock, rage and fear, pulse of tears, pulse of tears, pulse of anguish and confusion, pulse of tears, pulse of tears. Pulse of time repeating itself, pulse of protest, pulse of prayers, pulse of protest, pulse of prayers. Pulse of brains wondering when the next round of bullets will fly, pulse of brains wondering why the next round of bullets must fly. Pulse of time repeating itself, pulse of protest, pulse of prayers, pulse of protests, pulse of prayers. Quick. Turn to the person next to you, place 2 fingers upon their wrist, feel the pulse of blood. Remind yourself you're still alive. So this last poem you're about to hear, I first discovered an early version of it in the back of a cross-country Greyhound bus just outside Kansas City. It was hanging with 2 hippie girls, Opal and Sierra, starry-eyed wave speeds and ears woven in their hair, peasant dresses reeking of weed and patchouli. The poem you'll soon hear, it was ready to abandon its MFA degree and 2 years of PhD coursework, all to follow Opal and Sierra as they followed the Grateful Dead on their 1993 tour. Another thing about the poem you're about to hear, while it clocks in at a mere 17 seconds, I feel there's so much more to say about it. Its muses are elusive, its fingerprint barely a whisper, its DNA hasn't been discovered on any computer or any writing journal or publication. It was inspired by all the thoughts that have awoken me in the middle of the night, ones I promised myself I'd jot down, then promptly fell back asleep and forgot. The poem you're about to hear, it's gender neutral, highly political, anti-gun, anti-hate, anti-rape, anti-discrimination. It doesn't contain a whiff of erotica. It does, however, allude to a time when it was involved in a brief but highly contentious relationship with a seemingly naive sonnet that turned out to be a toxic, vindictive, extremely remorseless sociopath that burned the poem you'll soon hear with a stun gun, walloped it with a shovel, shot it, rolled it into a carpet, then tossed it into the Pacific. The poem did manage to survive with only a few minor scrapes to its title and a slight limp in its first stanza. The poem you'll soon hear once saved a child from a burning building, an old man from a mugging, a young woman from being abducted. To fully understand and appreciate the poem you're about to hear, you should populate its interior with artwork inspired by the 7 wonders of your most ancient emotions. Build a window into its west-facing wall. Every day for a year, observe the sunset. Upon witnessing the 365th, you should strip off all your clothes, paint your body with all the colors that best describe your credit score at the time, then run naked through the streets. If you're arrested, burned with a stun gun, walloped with a shovel, shot, rolled into a carpet, then tossed into the Pacific, then and only then will you fully understand the poem's deepest meaning. The poem you're about to hear, it doesn't have a face for wearing hats or a voice for radio, no talent for hoarse whispering or finding its keys or phone in the dark, gets cold in the summer, warm in the winter, doesn't know it's up from down, it's left from right, attends auspicious literary events such as these with dog hair covering its most scholarly thoughts. Still, the poem you're about to hear knows to say thank you when offered kind words or constructive criticism in a writer's workshop, never burps or farts in public, always wipes its feet before entering your ears to reveal its innermost feelings. In a nutshell, the poem you're about to hear, all it seeks is your love, trust, and attention. All it asks is that you listen to its words, the silences between those words, and the silences between the silences. And now, the poem. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and healthy.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Rich. That is wonderful, wonderful work. I think this is like my second or third time hearing you read, and I always enjoy, it's always a pleasure. Your stuff is just so thought-provoking and witty, edgy, all of it. So thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so last but definitely not least, we have Jay Miller in the house, and he hails all the way from China. So glad to have you with us. Jay Miller's recent writing can be found in A Dozen, Nothing, and a South Broadway Ghost Society. He has spent the last 5 years living in China and currently teaches at Central China Normal University, where he founded Osmanthus, a small press devoted to publishing innovative and experimental poetry. Jay Miller, take it away.
Awesome, thank you, Lyndsey, and it's my pleasure to be here with everyone. And Rich, that was really fucking amazing. I can say fucking, and everyone else as well. It's been a great morning for me here, and it's been a great pleasure to be reading with everyone here and all the other great weather family as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna go straight through. I do have a little random noise generator. It's a little 1990s Sanyo dictaphone that I recorded some stuff on last night. So it's a little pre-generated noise. I'm all about generative ideas and performance. And so I'll go ahead and start that at some point. I don't know how it'll sound, but that's great. So let's go ahead and take it away. And we'll call this Voiceless Anomalies Grasping Tight. Snuck, easiest said when whispered, voiceless and dropped off. Arriving across the border one night, struggling to adapt to the environment, colder here. The wind rips the environment, colder here. The environment, hope no anomalies awaken to a strangling grasp. The wind blows. In the silence, the sounds of annihilation. Fuzzy biped erect, searches the table from the ground, crumbs, winds, churns. Hairless biped, a moon reaches, a hand glass window, hole, not a crack, hole, not a hole, black crack envelope without letter. You tesseract in a Cessna radio static, writes in invisible ink, bathes the incessant cessation. Technocratic lines transect with light transversing waves where you are far away, I swear. You're elsewhere in weather to transect a pen on paper before a memory is lost to me. In a field of black snow, a hoverboard where no one feels alone, flowers gaze,
not even me. Tar rivers get a new life. Some magnetic shadow of these shadows. You wonder if you're flying too slow. Temporaneous Keanu Reeves jogs 1,000 miles to solve for speed or rate. Use the formula for speed. A hoverboard, flowers gaze, not even me, of these shadows in a field of black snow where no one feels alone. Tar rivers, some magnetic shadow. Cables spew black snow for 1,000 miles for 20 hours. How fast do they? Forever stuck through toes, hybrid webbed feet, bird duck. Webs felt dissolved by data, dissolving data, fuzzy biped, unrecognizable, cognizant camera takes a picture. Still unrecognizable to viewer, some dump truck. Time the apple fills my veins. Belief is catatonic, or a hand, a hole, a toes, a crack gives on envelopes, taste buds out, cigarette biped, fuzzy tripod, feathers resemble cigarette ash. You see birthday candles, aerobic exercise, infinite flame. By the time Keanu runs 1,000 miles, how old will you be? Simple math, incessant breathing, consuming oxygen, burns a hole in a cockpit with all the math. Who are you to burn down your own house? The last living sheep came and told me about the events. Razor wire outstripped all our blankets. They came to plant cabbage seeds in the fields. One day the seeds would grow into bowling balls and we'd have no time to strike against them. They're coming to knock us down and use our limbs as fertilizer. Mud blankets covered us where they threw their seeds, and we became an arrangement of figures and icons arrayed throughout someone's spreadsheet. Money, money, money. Money, money, money. Cash, 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 cash. We were still alive, so we took their bowling balls and smashed through the enclosure's walls. Our debris scatters among the fields, they said, and we repeated it. Our debris scatters among the fields. The fields scatter our debris among the field. The fields scatter our debris. Among the debris, our fields scatters. Our debris scatters. The field scatters debris. Along our debris among the fields. Scatter, slaughter, debris among the fields, scatters our debris. The fields scatter the debris among the fields. Seeds implanted as we ran away. We'll always remember that refrain. We'll always remember the man with the iron tinctured shovel. The seed said, "Get out," and we ran away from our blankets and lakes. Follow the seed. The fish gave us their eyes. Great silence underwater. When we spoke, our mouths filled with water. The seeds scattered in their blankets ended our stint, and we had to let them grow together to uproot and rearrange their orchards. In a field of black snow, a hoverboard where no one feels alone. Flowers gaze, not even me. Tar rivers get a new life. Some magnetic shadow of these shadows. Almost done, and enclosure a diabolical blanket. A feast differs if the mutton came from inside or outside the enclosure. Skewered, twice roasted, or many times inverted, turned to fire and skyward again. A man doesn't recognize Ruth. He takes her picture, the enclosure's walls outside the frame. 10 lambs, sheep pen. If 10 sheep remain in the enclosure, too much heat and they'll burn, says Jacob. In the menagerie, we pledge our fealty to continue to till the land until the factory floor beckons the managerial staff over lounge on ivory couches, calculating wages, profits, and dividends, ways to divide the board of directors, inbound facsimile. Bankruptcy looms bring the ships back to life. Ships harbored, contagion in the closet. The ships are ghosts before they die. Unlocked dry dock, and the light became so blinding in this part of the sea. The head gazes at the upper gleams, the mind unballasted, already dead adrift, capsized. 10 nautical knots from this is really happening float. 10 nautical knots from float happening. This is really happening float. Ship skewered rotates across the flame. It was here that Perry convened with Kurosawa. Fumes the spa, fumes seaweed boils. Is there any bait to eat this photograph? Wormwood said, improvise some music, tune pop standard, 15 violins, tune 15 bows, oil with the finest pine trees, 15,000 horses tents, 15 crack violinists cracked from a container, the water calmed where 15 minutes prior the skewering ship jettisoned its cargo. Strewn containers, buoyant, tensed shoulders grip, triceps flex, and Jess Spicoli jumps from the water, landing on a container. Spicoli says, I saw the light. That's some killer light, Mr. Hand. Awesome. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you, Jane, for having me read, and for Lyndsey for hosting, and Thomas for doing on the back end, and for all the other readers and editors on the Great Weather masthead. It's been a pleasure having reading for you today. Thank you.
Woo, woo, Jay Miller. Thank you. What a way to end the party. Oh my goodness, it was mesmerizing. Thank you so much for sharing that piece with us. I really enjoyed it. Well, you guys, we have come to the end of the show. So on behalf of Great Weather for Media, thank you guys so much for joining us for Escape Wheel Celebration number 6. We really appreciate it. Just want you guys to remember that you have until January 15th to submit some poetry or prose for the next anthology. So if you want to submit something, feel free to tell your friends, tell family, tell anybody you know who might be interested. Am I leaving anything out, guys?
You're great.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. To all you amazing contributors, thank you for sharing your work. You guys are just wonderful. I really enjoyed it all. I think everybody did.